Okay. Please repeat the verse after me. Tulayamalavenapi na swargam na punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kimutasishaha Tulayamalavenapi na swargam na punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kimutasishaha Tulayamalavenapi na swargam na punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kimutasishaha Would anyone like to recite the verse?
Translation?
No, the verse.
Oh, okay.
We'll repeat after you.
Tulayamalavenapi naswargam napun I messed up. Naswargam napunarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kim utashisha
Tulayamalavenapi naswargam napunarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kimutasishaha Okay, Rishabh Prabhu, would you like to read the translation?
Yes. The value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot even be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter, and what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death.
We can actually read the purport. You can read half of it, you can again come back and read the half of it.
When there are some similar points, it is possible to compare one thing to another. One cannot compare the association of a pure devotee to anything material. Men who are addicted to the material happiness aspire to reach the heavenly planets like the moon, Venus, and Indraloka. And those who are advanced in material philosophical speculations aspire after liberation from all material bondage. When one becomes frustrated with all kinds of material advancement, one desires the opposite of liberation, which is apunarbhava, or no rebirth. But the pure devotees of the Lord do not aspire after the happiness obtained in the heavenly kingdom, nor do they aspire after liberation from material bondage. In other words, for the pure devotees of the Lord, the material pleasures obtainable in the heavenly planets are like phantasmagoria, and because they are already liberated from all material conceptions of pleasure and distress, they are factually liberated even in the material world. This means that the pure devotees of the Lord are engaged in a transcendental existence, namely in the loving service of the Lord, both in the material world and in the spiritual world.
As a government servant is always the same, either in the office or at home or at any place, so a devotee has nothing to do with anything material, for he is exclusively engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. Since he has nothing to do with anything material, what pleasure can he derive from material benedictions like kingship or other overlordships, which are finished quickly with the end of the body? Devotional service is eternal. It has no end because it is spiritual. Therefore, since the assets of a pure devotee are completely different from material assets, there is no comparison between the two. Sutta Goswami was a pure devotee of the Lord, and therefore his association with the rishis in Naimisharanya is unique. In the material world, association with the gross materialists is veritably condemned. The materialist is called Yoshit Sangi, or one who is much attached to the material entanglement, women and other paraphernalia. Such attachment is conditioned because it drives away the benedictions of life and prosperity. And just the opposite is Bhagavat Sangi, or one who is always in the association with the Lord's name, form, qualities, etc. Such association is always desirable. It is worshipable, it is praiseworthy, and one may accept it as a high school of life.
Done?
Yes.
Okay. Hamajnanatimirandhasya jnananjanasalakhya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishnaprasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Okay, this verse is very important, one of the most important verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, because it actually tells us the value of the association of devotees. Association of devotees is one of the most important aspects of devotional service. Rupa Goswami in his book, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, explains there are 64 angas or limbs of devotional service, out of which he says 5 are most important. Right? Those 5 are chanting the holy name of the Lord, associating with the devotees, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, worshipping the deities, and living in a holy place. Right? But even among these 5, 2 are considered most important. The primary, of course, is chanting the holy names, and then association of devotees. However, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his books says that in the beginning, association of devotees is even more important. Because one cannot even start chanting the holy name or develop faith in the holy name unless he associates with the devotees, correct? So therefore, but then what is the importance of this, or what's the value? Therefore here it says, even apunarbhava, even liberation from material bonds, which means even if you are liberated, you are not going to take birth again, which is actually the highest goal for the yogis and jnanis. Their ultimate goal of life, of all their practices, is moksha or liberation, which means they don't want to get into a material body again, so they are liberated. That's their ultimate goal, but even that is very insignificant compared to the association of a pure devotee. How is that? Because liberation from material bondage is a very high goal for the yogis and jnanis. But ultimately, what is liberation? Liberation is nothing but coming out of material bondage. Right? It's like coming out of jail. Right? Getting out of the prison is not a very high achievement. Like if someone tells you that, oh, I just came out of the prison, you are not going to reward him, or like he's not going to get an award for that. So, but if someone can actually enter the king's palace and become a trustworthy servant of the king, and he gets promoted to the high service of the king or the emperor, that's something praiseworthy. So similarly, liberation, this material world is like a jail. Therefore it's called Durga. It means it's a prison house. So to get out of the prison house is for them, it may be a great achievement, it is for them, but for those who are in the prison, of course, that's the highest achievement. But most people are outside the prison. So most living entities are in the spiritual world. So to get liberated is not the same as entering into the service of Krishna, which is actually far beyond liberation. So if you engage in bhakti, liberation is just a side benefit. There are different types of liberation. I won't get into all the technical details, but there are 5 different kinds of liberation. The basic kind of liberation is Sayujya, where you merge into the Brahma Jyoti, or the impersonal, the formless light that emanates from Krishna's body or in the spiritual world. That's called Brahma Jyoti. Right? So So the soul merges into that. Just like, a ray of the sun. The sunshine is there. You can see the sun shining. But what is sunshine? It's just it's a collection of lot of rays. Or if you want to take it into scientific terminology, it's called photons. Right? Different particles of light. Correct? So it's just a combination of them. Similarly, the soul, the Brahma Jyoti is like that, and the soul is one ray or one particle, you can say, of that spiritual sunshine. So you merge into that, right? That's called Sayujya Mukti. But that's not really something very lofty, right? So you merge into that, but then you can't stay there because you need to be active. The soul wants to be active. So the soul either comes back to the material world from there, or he goes into the Vaikuntha planets or the spiritual planets and then engages in serving Krishna, loving devotional service. Right? So that's the other four kinds of liberation where the soul serves Krishna or any of the forms of Krishna, other forms like Narayan or Ram or any other different forms. These are all eternal forms. Yes.
Sorry, can you explain that again? So all the souls are in Brahma Jyoti at some point, and then from there they can go to the other, either heavenly planets or material planets, or sorry, I didn't really understand.
I'm just saying that Brahma Jyoti is in between Krishna's abode or the Vaikuntha and the material.
Okay.
Right? So it's like the neutral point. So from there, either you go up or you go down.
So everyone was there at some point, is what you're saying?
Not that everyone was there at some point. Everyone was originally with Krishna.
Yeah.
Right? But then we fell from there. Correct? So the thing is, even if you go back, my point is, even if you got liberated and if you merged into Brahma Jyoti, you have to either come down or you have to go up. Yeah. You cannot stay permanently there because there's no activity. It's just only peace, but no ananda. That means no joy. There's a difference between joy and peace. Peace is like you are free from suffering. You are peaceful. But joy is like you are actively experiencing happiness. Right? Like when you are really worried, when you are stressed out, then you are relieved from the stress, you say, I am peaceful now. Right? But when you are with your friends or with your family, do you want to be peaceful? No, you want to enjoy. Right? You don't want to be peaceful. Peace is like zero. Joy is positive and suffering is negative. If you take a scale, right? So you don't want to be on the negative, and peace is like, okay, I'm not suffering. But then you still want to get some joy further. But the problem with the material joy is that it's temporary, and it also comes with a lot of suffering. Right? In the material world, you try to enjoy, but then you have all these different types of miseries: birth, death, old age, and disease, and then the threefold miseries from body and mind, from other living entities, natural disasters. So this, it's like sweet rice mixed with sand. You have sweet rice, but then it has some sand. So can you taste it? No. You get the sweet feeling, but then it also pains your jaws. So similarly, what's that?
Yeah, I know that feeling, I think.
Oh, you had it once?
No, because sometimes when I eat the rice, there's like really things when you bite, it makes a really loud noise.
So like that. So the point is that material joy is like that. To get a little happiness, you have to work so hard, and then even then, that's not permanent. You have to lose it. You are worried, you may lose it any time. You have to protect it. So material joy is very little. But then the joy of Krishna consciousness is eternal. It keeps expanding because love for Krishna is that it keeps increasing. And when it keeps increasing, you experience more and more joy, and there's no end to it. Right? So from the stage of Brahma Jyoti, you either come down to the material world for experiencing joy, or you go to the spiritual world to enjoy with Krishna.
But like in this Brahma Jyoti form, like, are you by yourself? Where are you location wise? Like, what are you doing? Like,
You're not doing anything. That's the problem.
mm-hmm.
Doing means activity. There's no activity there.
Mm-hmm.
You just merged in yourself. You just merged in that, and it's like you can compare it to the
Hibernation.
deep sleep. Yeah, hibernation. It's like hibernation,
Okay.
right?
So it doesn't matter where you are because you're in your own mind basically, or
You are just absorbed in self consciousness.
mm-hmm.
You know that I'm not the body. I'm soul. You have no body. You know I'm a spirit soul, right? And that's the bliss you have. That's the only bliss. That's a very very little ananda. That is where you know that you are not the body. You are a spirit soul.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But there's nothing beyond that. But in Krishna consciousness, you know that you're a spirit soul, but you're a part and parcel of Krishna. Yeah, and you're an eternal servant of Krishna.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what makes it, then you have a relationship with Krishna. Now you have a loving relationship. And that bliss is far more than the bliss of Brahmananda. Right? Scriptures say that if Brahmananda, or the happiness of merging into Brahma Jyoti, if you compare that to the water contained in a calf's hoof print, calf,
Mm-hmm.
when it walks in the mud, it is a hoof print, and sometimes in the rainy season that gets filled with water.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the amount of happiness that's derived from merging into the Brahma Jyoti. Whereas the happiness of Krishna consciousness is like an ocean, compared to an ocean. So the point is, therefore, by associating with the pure devotee, you get the love for Krishna. You can get promoted to Krishna's kingdom, Krishna's palace. So in front of that, even liberation is not a big thing. Right? If even liberation is insignificant, and even attaining heavenly planets is insignificant compared to association of devotees, then what to speak of other things? Right? So there's nothing compared to the association of devotees, nothing as valuable as that.
Mm-hmm. Is it mentioned what a typical day is like in Krishna's planet, or whatever the highest planets are? Like for the devotee, what a typical day is like?
Well, it's not the same for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, spiritual world is very dynamic.
Yes.
It's not like here you have a fixed schedule every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you are bound by that,
Yeah.
correct? But in the spiritual world, you are not bound by any rules.
Mm-hmm.
Today you are doing something, tomorrow you can do something else completely.
Mm-hmm.
And there are different planets in the spiritual world also.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are different groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you say Goloka Vrindavan, you have the gopis, you have the gopas, you have Nanda Maharaj, you have, like in Vaikuntha, there are these Vishnu Dutas.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a different engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And the spiritual world is full of variety. Like just like in this world you can see variety. Is everyone doing the same thing?
No.
No, you have different occupations, different people doing completely different things. In the spiritual world, you have even more variety than here. Right? And there, everything is happens by your desire. It's like if you want it to be night, it becomes night. Right? It's like that. So spiritual world means all the desires are fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Like Krishna's abode is like it's full of Chintamani. Chintamani means the touchstone. The sand, the dust there is made of touchstone. The cows are Surabhi cows, can fulfill all desires. Kamadhenu. The trees are Kalpavrakshas, desire fulfilling trees. They can fulfill all your desires. So everyone's desire is naturally fulfilled, but the thing is, their desires are all aligned with Krishna's desires. That's why they are in the spiritual world in the first place.
Yeah.
They don't desire anything for themselves. They just want to love and serve Krishna. In that there is a lot of variety. And all those spiritual desires are fulfilled automatically as soon as they desire. So you can't put a fixed time schedule like, okay, they wake up at this time and then they, So, I'm not saying that they don't have a schedule, but then that's very dynamic. The principle we understand is that there is no birth, old age, disease or death. There's no miseries. It's very difficult for us to understand. But it's millions and billions of times more blissful than the material world. That's all we can tell. Although we have an idea what they do, but we can't really experience it. Prabhupada gave the example of a Christian preacher who used to go to the mines to preach to the workers. The coal miners.
Yeah.
They go deep into the earth and then they dig the coal.
Yeah.
It's like very hot, dark and all. So he was telling them that, the kingdom of God is nice and, otherwise if you don't worship Jesus Christ, you go to hell. And how is hell? It's dark, it's hot. So, we are already experiencing that. How is the kingdom of God? And he tried to explain, but they couldn't get it. Then he said, in hell there are no newspapers. Because newspapers are the only source of entertainment for those coal miners.
Oh.
So he said there are no newspapers in hell. And so, then it must be a very terrible place. Like that. So, for us, we need to say something, like whatever is miserable to us, that's not there in the spiritual world. That's how we would understand. So, anyway, so the point is that association of devotees is very valuable because you become what you associate with. Right? You associate with people with bad habits, you develop those habits. You develop those thoughts. And I'll tell you a very short story. Once, Bali Maharaj, who was the king of the demons, but he was a great devotee of Krishna. He's the grandson of Prahlad. Okay, so he was a devotee, but he had a brother who was very sinful. He was not a devotee. So he was worried, he was concerned about his brother, that how would he go back to God, or how can I save him from going to hell because he is very sinful. So he was so sinful that his name became Pap Purush. Pap means sin. So he was actually sad, and one day Narad Muni comes to his palace and he says, why are you sad? Is there something wrong? He says, I'm just concerned about my brother. I tried to help him. I sent many devotees to try and help him, but he wouldn't change. Maybe you can help. Narad Muni says, okay, I'll try. And then he goes to that guy, and seeing Narad Muni coming from a distance, he says, you rascal, don't come here. Right? So how would Narad Muni be able to help him? Because Narad Muni is quite smart. He said, actually, I came to seek advice from you, seek knowledge from you. But if you are busy, I'll go back. So then Papa said, I thought you came to give me knowledge, but you have come to ask advice from me. So, okay, then tell me, how can I help you? And I said, I had a question. What is the benefit of associating with devotees for 1/11 of a second? It's in Sanskrit it's called lava. Lava means it's a time which is equal to 1/11 of a second. What's the benefit of associating with a devotee for that much time? Obviously, Papurush didn't have an answer. He said, I don't know. Okay, if you ever come to know, just let me know. Arjuna said, and then he left. And then time passed, he continued with his sinful activities, and eventually the time of death came. And when he was going to die, obviously Yamaraj, the Lord of Death, came to take take his soul. And then he said, "You have a lot to suffer because you committed a lot of sins." But then I said, "I have a question. I can come with you, but I have a question about that." He remembered Narada's question and he asked that question to Yamaraj. What's the benefit of associating with the devotee for 1/11th of a second? So Yamaraj said, "I never heard of that. I don't know. Let me ask this question to Lord Brahma because he'd know better." So he took this Vapurush to Brahmalok, where Lord Brahma stays, and they asked the question. And even Brahma couldn't answer that question. He said, "I don't know, maybe Lord Shiva, I'm sure, would know the answer." So then they all together go to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva was asked the same question. He also didn't have an answer. He said, "I don't know, we should ask Lord Vishnu." So then they all together go to Lord Vishnu and then they ask the same question. And then Lord Vishnu says, "You do one thing, you leave this Papa Purush here with me and you all go back to your respective places." That's the answer to your question, I said. Because he associated with Narad Muni for a very short while, he got actually this benefit. And he followed his instruction. His only instruction was, find the answer. And he found it. So that's the thing, someone who was so sinful could be delivered by the association. So therefore, try to associate. And how do you associate? We may not be able to associate physically all the time. The best way to associate is by following their advice. Right? And devotees, especially senior Vaishnavas, when they give us some guidance, if you take that very seriously and apply it in your life, that's the best way you serve the Vaishnavas. Right? And to do that, you need to have faith in those instructions. Like faith in what Srila Prabhupada taught us. Faith in the devotees. And if you faithfully apply those things, then you are associating with those devotees even when you are physically away from them. Correct? That opens the door to liberation and even beyond. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any further questions? You want to share some thoughts?
By association?
I don't know about association or whatever else you want to say.
This is kind of relevant, but one time I heard that you can consider yourself as the average of your 5 closest friends, because whoever you hang out with the most is going to be who you're like. So.
That's true. Right. Any further thoughts, Rishabh? No?
Yeah, can you...
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to know because I don't know too much of the background, but I really liked the serial and I was watching.
Okay. Alright. So, there are several yogis who have different mystic powers.
I have office hours with my teacher at 8:30.
Okay.
So I have to go shower. So
You're leave right now?
yeah, within the next couple minutes.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Okay, no problem. But you take half of that. That's for you. You might like to heat it up. There are 3 bags in the same thing. Just transfer half of those contents into another bag and then you're good. Just take the outermost one out. And then, yeah, so there are mystic yogis who have various mystic powers. There are 8 siddhis, which means one of them is to be able to become very small, to be able to grow big, to control on others to get whatever you want. These are all different mystic perfections.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I can get it. Is it open?
The thing is, plastic spoons.
No, I just need to transfer.
Oh, you need to transfer. Yeah, then I can get you the silver.
I can just get it. You don't have to.
Yeah, so it's basically it's in your room on the
Better
plate and the desk.
We can get it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.